Can't hear you, Venkat.
So sorry, I was on mute. No wonder.
Yes,
Skills.
no better.
Hi Siddharth,
Much
how are
better.
you?
Hi, sir. I'm good, sir. I'm good.
Hello, sir.
Balaji, yes.
Yes, sir. We are live now, sir. Please start.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. This is welcome all of you to yet another session on design thinking. This is going to be an exciting session for us because this is the first time we've had a guest as well. So apart from our usual format of having your questions answered or something that's probably something that's in your mind, we would like to clarify it through the Google form that was circulated before, as well as the discussion forum. If there are any interesting questions, Siddharth has a very good keen eye on picking those up, and then we'll put it up here so that we can all see, and we can sort of respond. I respond with my own experience, and Siddharth also adds in with his experience. But I'm also equally excited about the fact that we have one guest today. You would have seen the name in your messages, but that is coming up a bit later. Right now, let's say hello to Siddharth. Say hello, Siddharth.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our live session, second live session on design thinking. Welcome, Venkat, sir. It is really great to have you on our session. And we are really looking forward to your interaction with our learners as well. And learners, please feel free to post your queries in the live chat, and we'll have Bala, sir, and Venkat, sir answer your queries. And Bala, sir, very quickly moving on to our
Oh,
next session.
okay.
And
Yeah. So the first and exciting part of this. Thanks, Siddharth. So I'll first introduce Venkat to our audience. He is a successful entrepreneur, and he is on a very new venture, which is the exciting part for us at design thinking. Because when I described to him the process that we have described in the course, he said that's exactly what I've been doing in the past 8 or so years. I said that's amazing, and I would definitely like for us to get hold of him. He's between clients and hiring good people and getting all this background stuff going. So I said, no, you will have to spare time with us to spend some time with our learners. So here he is. Okay, let me just back up a bit before I give the stage to Venkat. This morning I went to a shop, and I reached out into my pocket, and I really could not find any cash. Okay, absolutely no cash. And I went to that shop, and I'd already picked up what I had to pick up. Okay, I was all set to check out, and it would have been a really sorry scene, if I'm all dressed up and go there and try to buy stuff, and I don't have any cash. That'd be crazy. But I said, wait a second, I have my mobile phone. So who needs cash when I have a mobile phone? Is what the thought that came to my head, and I said, here it is. Okay. So now, if you think about it in a company context, people are so used to paper and moving files around in physical format, and the whole world is moving to digital format. Imagine in a scenario where the chief financial officer of a company looks at what looks like a pilot's cockpit, and decides what he's going to where he's going to put the money, where's the money coming from, all that you can see. Imagine that scenario. That's exactly what Venkat's startup is all about. As I understand it, Venkat is the expert in this. This is my 2 cents of what I understand from this. So without any more noise from me, over to Venkat. Your times here is here. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation and being here.
Oh, really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Bala and Siddharth. Appreciate the warm welcome. So I will quickly maybe disable the video because I think it's what heats up my bandwidth. I will probably quickly switch off the video. So what I wanted to do was I'll probably spend a bit of time giving a quick background about myself, so that at least that way the people have a bit more context. And also let me start with sharing my screen also. If you can, let me start. Yeah, can you see my screen? At least in the slide mode.
Yes, we can, sir.
Yes, we can see it.
Awesome. Sounds good. So, a quick background. I think, well, you've done a really good job in explaining. I don't know whether I deserve that much of credit, but still, I will quickly spend some time giving a quick background about myself. So, I'm Venkatakrishnan J. I'm the founder and CEO of Quarkcube. So the man on the photo is the younger version of me. So I don't have that much of hair left anymore. But again, so I'm actually a part of OLC, Young Leaders Council, under the part of ambit of AIMA, which is All India Management Association. I'm also an Oracle ACE alumni. Again, one of the awards given by Oracle for key people who contributed more to the blog in terms of either conferences or articles, etc. I also have a couple of books again where not that I was an author, I was an official reviewer for both the books, again primarily in the area of analytics. I have also been awarded the global leader in consulting back in 2018 when I was I was running the operations for Huron Eurasia. And then I'm on board of a couple of companies now. One of them is Huron, and that's the high level background. Now, what I thought could be good and interesting is giving you a perspective of how my journey has been. Again, it's been a very, I would say, a significant revelation. I mean, when I look back, so I thought it'll be interesting for you all to know as well. So let me quickly move on there. So quickly giving you a background, right? Like many of you on the call, I began my career just like just another ordinary graduate. I was an electronics and communication engineering graduate from College of Engineering, Indiana University. So it was back in 2003. That's how I started. So then what I did was, just like many of you would be aspiring for, I ended up joining Cognizant, one of the big oceans out there, joining them as part of the Analytics Center of Excellence practice. Then I moved on, joined Oracle. Over a 3-year period I spent at Cognizant, moved on to Oracle. I was part of the Oracle Global Services Delivery team. Well, I was part of multiple groups within Oracle, but then I did end up spending quite a bit of time on the global services delivery, which is where I actually picked up quite a lot of stuff, primarily around, I think, 2 main areas. One is around analytics. Second is why analytics is important for executives. I think that is where I would say learned bulk of my knowledge. Then, like many of you, I'm sure many of you are thinking now, my entrepreneurial bug or my journey started in 2009. That's when I started a company, India operations of a company called Richmond Mead. I ran the operations. I started the operations in 2009. Primarily focused around the area of analytics. Then I became an Oracle ACE in 2012. We were awarded, when I started the company, we were a team of, actually, I still remember our first office, we had 200 square feet space with only 2 people. That's how we started the office in 2009. And in 2012, we are a team of 80 people. We got, I think, 3 awards, Oracle Partner of the Year, as well as an Oracle ACE. I was in 2012. And then we grew to a point of almost 70 people in 2015, primarily focused around analytics space. That's when I sold the operations of Richmond Mead to Huron. Huron, again, many of you might know them. They are a pretty large management consulting firm focused on healthcare and higher education in US. So they wanted to come into India because they had pretty large plans. And I thought, from the company standpoint, that was a very good synergy. So that's when I sort of took on a dual role. I sold the company and then took on the role of running their operations for as part of as their India head. I ran the operations for nearly 5 years. Then in 2018, I was the global leader in consulting. And the last piece is then 2020, last year, I'm still on their board. That is where my second entrepreneurial bug started biting me, where it's been in my mind for a while. So far, if you look at my career, I have always been, every jump over a 3 to 4 year period has always been something new, something unique. And I always cherish that because at the end of the day, there is quite a bit of learning that you do. So my journey, the entire, at least the thought process behind starting Quarkcube was to solve something which, again, over the last 18 years, where it's not that it has not been solved, but it's just that it can be, I felt that we can solve it differently. So that's the background behind myself and basically the Quarkcube as well. Okay, so with that background, what I wanted to quickly touch upon is, I do know that we have only 15 to 20 minutes. I will try to keep it very short. I will try to keep it as focused as possible and give you a perspective of what the company is, what we do, what problems we solve, or at least we try to solve, and then what goes into the technology. So what we are building. So we are a unique platform. We are not a technology platform alone. We are a business enabling platform through technology. So I think that's a key differentiator, which I'll try to touch upon towards the end. And then the last one is the internship story. I'll probably give you all a quick flavor of what we look for from an intern standpoint and why it is very, very important as part of our growth. Okay, so with that, let me quickly switch on. Switch on to the part where I thought, instead of me jumping directly into QuarkCube, I thought it will be, it will be a good opportunity to maybe take a step back, look at where we fit. So that's why at least you can all relate to where QuarkCube fits in the overall enterprise. There are so many technologies out there. So for you all to understand where QuarkCube fits, I thought this will be a good overview. So now, if you look at the entire space, if you look at the whole world, if you look at all the public and private companies out there, and if you combine all their investments and the spend they have been making, again, this is 2019 data, but again, it's directionally still, I would say, valid. If the overall spend, don't worry about the dollars, but if you look at the spend can be segmented into 5 large segments. The first segment is called as a data center segment, which is where, bulk of your data centers, like our Amazons, the investments on AWS, investments on Microsoft Azure. So those are all the data center systems. Then the second component is enterprise software, which I'll come to towards the end. Third one is devices. Devices is where all the enterprises buy all their laptops, their phones, etc. There is a bulk of investment that goes in. That's a third segment. Fourth segment is IT services, which is where all the offerings done by Accenture or an Infosys or a TCS, they all fall under that bracket of IT services. And then, of course, there's last one, which is the communication services, which is more around fiber optics, more around how do we communicate with different companies, networking. All those fall under the communication services bracket. Now, the most important segment where QuarkCube falls is under the enterprise software segment. Now, what is enterprise software? So enterprise software is nothing but the softwares that are, two, I would say, variants of it, where companies invest on software to enable run their operations. Or sometimes they buy software and then they configure and cater to their needs. So that's the overall category of enterprise software. Now, the enterprise software itself gets broken down into multiple components. But for you all to give you a quick background, QuarkCube as a company operates in 3 large I would say there are 3 large segments called data governance, enterprise performance management, and business intelligence and analytics. Okay, and then this is close to if you look at enterprise software, which is like 1/5 of the overall enterprise software space. That is what we operate in. Rest all is all covered by your standard enterprise softwares like an ERP or a CRM. Okay, now what features, again, do not worry about, because there are a lot of things which might be slightly over the head, but again, at a high level, what we offer, at least as part of our platform, is basically covering the core 9 core pillars of any large enterprise performance management solution, or we call it the enterprise management space, which is right from catering to master data management, data governance. How do you do planning? How do you do financial planning? How do you make sure your company is viable for the next 5 years? We call it long range planning. How do you make sure your profitabilities are all in line? How do you make sure you price your products properly? How do you make sure you basically publish your financial results on time and as aligned to the governmental norms that are published out there? And how do you make sure you get value out of the data? So these are all I would say, the 9 strong pillars, right from master data management to analytics to financial consolidation, that QuarkCube operates in. Okay, now, again, not too much of time, but at a high level, why are we focused on this space for this basically 3 large pillars is primarily for 3 most important reason is there are players out there. There are big companies who actually provide solutions. It's not like we don't have competitors, but the big challenge today is, having done consulting for the last 18 years, what I realized is there is not a single major player that can do all 3. And there is a need for companies to have all these 3 talking to each other. That is one. Second most important one. Don't get me wrong, innovation happens. Innovation is happening in each space. In fact, I would say there are companies out there who are innovating really, really well in business intelligence and advanced analytics. But when you look at it holistically, the innovation is fragmented. The innovation is not what happens in one space does not percolate into the other. So the value generation eventually back to the companies is not as good as ideally it should be. And then the last one is what to have a single data platform that can all talk to each other across all this, so that at the end of the day, companies can invest on one platform that can cover all the needs of analytics to a financial planning, to a consolidation, and eventually to profitability analytics. That is the primary reason of why we chose this segment, why we thought it makes sense to have a single platform that can cater to all. Okay, now this is something which we generally do, but most of you know this. But again, there is a reason why I wanted to. I know this slide generally would be looking scary, but again, there is a reason why this slide is there. First is, many of you know this. I mean, again, even now, when I look back in 2003, I still remember. I mean, the way how the things have changed over the last decade to when I started my career has been significant. Almost, I mean, to the point that I still remember when we used to buy softwares. If you remember Office, if you have to purchase software, you always will worry about, hey, if I purchase Office in this machine, will I be able to transfer it to another machine? But now even Office has changed. Basically, they moved to a software as a service model. Same way, if you look at it, automobile, yeah, I mean, many of you will know the Olas and the Ubers of the world have completely changed from an ownership-driven model to a mobility on-demand based model. Then similarly, media and entertainment, if you look at it, it's completely changing. Pure print media to a complete digital media. And lastly, even on the retail, in-store, e-commerce, and these days, technology seems to be the enabler as well as the ultimate pusher as well when it comes to adoption as well as the revolution in the respective spaces. Now, with that, why am I talking about this? The most important thing is what you will notice is for companies, change is the only constant. So the previous slide, we are talking about so many things are changing. But if you are looking at it from the company's perspective, if you look at it from a perspective of a company, if you are a CEO or a CFO, or if you are a chief operating officer of a company, one thing you will notice, hey, it's easy to say, hey, Nokia has failed. It's easy to say they were not able to innovate themselves. But then it's so hard. It's very, very hard. If you are looking at it from the executive's perspective, there are so many things that change around you. For example, change in business models. Your business model can change. You are selling from software in each machine to software on the cloud. Similarly, your skills could change. Similarly, your strategy could change. Your regulations are changing. How, in fact, I still remember when I started the company of Redmond Mead, the regulatory approvals that we had to go through to start the company to where we are today, it has significantly changed. It's so pro companies now. Similarly, pricing. How do you adopt your pricing? Your internal execution change. So the most important aspect is, if I'm the CFO of a company, I need to keep in mind all these factors, and I need to be in a position to give the meaningful data catering to all these factors so that I have a better visibility of what I am doing and what I am going to do. So that is the premise. And eventual only point is change is the only constant. And even more important thing is you need a platform that can cater to all. And that is the primary story behind why we started QuarkCube, again, focused around what I would say purely finance office or the executive office of finance or the chief financial officer. So his group is what we generally go to market with. So what do we solve? So we solve 5 main problems for customers. First is we help in doing scenario planning. In the sense, hey, let's say, for example, if you were a Nokia tomorrow, what if I try to completely innovate myself? What if I go and try to acquire a new company? What if I completely mitigate or change my financial model to something else? This is what we call a scenario planning. We provide a platform that can enable companies or enterprises to change the way they look at business, and at the same time making it easier for them to model it. And then not only do we enable modeling, we also enable measurement. So you monitor, you measure, and then you come back to the point of, hey, am I monitoring? Am I doing this? It's a basically closed loops cycle. Similarly, we help in identifying, we provide a modular platform that will help in identifying and modeling financial risks. Third is we help, which goes back to my point on the regulations, the change in regulations. See, you will see many of the public companies, they publish financial data at the end of every month or every quarter. They have to publish it on time. having done this for the last 18 years, I'm telling it is so hard to run simple financial profit and loss and balance sheet statement in a cohesive way without having, I mean, it is very hard. So what we do as try to do as part of the platform is shorten that time and effort to enable that. And last is M&A. If you want to acquire a new company, if you want to basically go and acquire a completely new business tomorrow, if post acquisition, how would my demographics look like? Post acquisition, how would my P&L look like? How would my profitability look like? That is what we help in through our platform. We help in simplifying the M&A, our mergers and acquisition process. And then last is digital innovation. So basically the innovation, our platform is built on the cloud. So it helps in digital adoption and helps you in accelerating, bringing all the change that is needed from a technology standpoint. Okay, so I will quickly touch upon a few more points. I think Bala did mention this earlier. See, eventually it comes down to what we call as brass tacks, fundamentals to a finance office. What are we talking about? You need something to, when you say finance, you need to know what is my revenue, what is my pipeline. Similarly, you need to know what is my cost, what is my expense. Similarly, you need to know how much am I making. So when I'm selling a product, what is my profitability? How much is my margin? Am I selling it better or am I not selling it properly? Similarly, assets, how much of assets do I have? How much of liabilities do I have? How much of covenants do I have in my machine? That is what I try to capture. At least it all boils down to these fundamental KPIs that we try to manage and measure. Now, when you look at it, companies already solve it. Companies already solve it in a certain way. So I'll give you a quick background. There are companies out there, let's say there are softwares out there like CRM, ERP, or analytics. There are custom software solutions that more or less cater to all these KPIs. But where do they fall short? So if you look at it holistically, basically these systems are very, very good at in two main things. They give you a very good storyboard about why my company performed the way they performed. They tell you why my company is performing the way it is performing. But where it falls short is, it does not tell me why does it not, or rather it doesn't tell me how I will be performing in the future. We call it mind the gap. How do you position yourself for the future? How do you measure your future? And future in the sense with tangible metrics, with tangible measurable outcomes, which is where our platform comes in. So we basically, as a QuadQ, we basically try to bridge the gap of what you are doing, we call it as was, what you are doing, we call it as is, and then what you are going to do is as to be. And we solve it through 5 major, there are individual products within our platform, all built on the platform, catering to each one. For example, the platform that you see in the middle is the actual platform itself. The plan, one at the top, helps you in planning. Close helps you in closing. Flare, Quark Flare is primarily for startups. If you are somebody trying to start a business and you don't know basics of finance, and these days starting up is easy, but the hardest part is measuring, am I doing well, is hard, which is where we try to solve using Quark Flare. And Quark Merge is for mergers and acquisitions. Okay, so that's the background behind the product. This is basically completely built on the cloud, built for cloud, and built for customers who want to move to the cloud. Okay, so that I sort of emphasized innovative technology. There are quite a few elements which I will maybe touch upon a bit later, which you will see. I think many of you, if you are technical in nature, you will understand what we have tried to do as part of the platform, which I will give an overview on. Similarly, one platform, our vision is to have one platform that can cater to all the needs. It should not be like you have multiple softwares running together. So you can have one platform that can cater to all your requirements, faster go to market, or basically once you get the platform, you will get able to get the value of the platform quickly. And of course, yes, there are a few elements. When I show you the architecture of the platform, you will at least understand there is a specific component within our platform called as a Quark Sense that enables, we have a specific feature called as auto NLP, natural language processing. It basically enables business leaders to ask the right questions. We don't say ask the questions, ask the right questions. So what is right is actually given by the platform. Okay, so for the technical geeks out there, this is at a high level. Again, this is not the full architecture, but at a high level, this is the platform, this is the architecture. So we basically, we have a foundational component called as a multi-dimensional database. So what is Quark Cube? Many of you might be wondering, what is that Quark Cube in the name? Quark are fundamental particles of matter, right? So what we are trying to say as part of the name Quark Cube is, Quark Cube as a platform is fundamental and foundational. And that our platform is actually the multi-dimensional data models that we bring, which is called as a multi-dimensional database engine called as a Quark Cube platform, right at the bottom. And we can deploy this on the cloud as well as on premise. Then we have few layers. You will see Quark Views, Quark Rules, which is the business rule engine. Then Quark Sense is where the AI ML comes in. Then one unique feature of our platform is you can build applications also. So even though it's a financial multi-dimensional data platform in the backend, what we have tried to do is we have tried to build an application build framework that makes it easier even for end users without a background on finance to build consumable analytical applications. That's the overall platform. Okay. And now what do we do? Building blocks that I have covered: Quarks, Quark Engine, Quark Views. Again, if you have more questions, I would also leave my email towards the end of the session. So you can always reach out to me. It's pretty unique. Each feature is a very unique feature of ours. These are platform differentiators we call. So Quarks and Quark Engine. The Quark Rules is a business rule engine. Quark View is the way in which you visualize the data. We call as them avatars. There are different avatars that you can look at the data from. And then Quark Sense is our AI NLP engine. And then last is the application build framework, where we can build applications on top of the platform. Okay, now coming to the last two components which I want to talk about. What's in it for you? So first thing is, I have given all the high level gyan of what we are trying to do. But again, one thing you need to realize, our product or our platform is actually not only technology. It's not a technology product. It basically has three components. We enable technology, or actually we bring in technology, but then we are trying to solve a business problem, because at the end of the day, this all goes to the executors. The CFO needs to make sense of his business. But then we also try to marry the financial lingo. You need to know what my metrics are, financial forecasts are, or financial KPIs are. So we operate in a very niche space where all these three come together. So we call it, we enable business by bringing financial analytics using technology. Again, it's just another way of saying is we operate right at the center. So the platform is complex, it is unique, and that's where we need more and more people focused on all these three areas. So what we are looking for from, at least, we are not looking at, of course, yes, we are also looking for experienced people, but also people who want to grow in these different stacks. The reason why I'm putting these as separate is, as you know, even though you might do graduation in one way, but what I always firmly believe in is your career could graduate in different forms. It all depends on which direction you want to choose. So we basically offer internship in these three areas. If you are selected, we will basically put you depending on which ones you fit and what your future career path needs to be, or from your perspective, we basically provide platform on all these three areas. Basically technology, focused around databases, UI. We use all the technical stuff that you would see, enterprise security, all those. We basically provide a specific internship course around technology. Similarly for business, purely around how do you do business planning, how do you do operations planning, how do you do even taking to sales, how do you sell to executives. That's the business component of our platform. Third is a finance, where we help you in understanding the financial nuances. How do you do a M&A? How do you do a consolidation? How do you do, say, 80% ownership on a specific entity? So we basically give the financial internship so that you could build that solution to the end customers. Okay. With that, I think I'm almost towards the end of what I wanted to touch upon. If you want to, I know many of you might have queries. If you want to reach out or any specific ones, this is my email. Feel free to reach out. I'll be happy to respond. But with that, let me transition this back to Bala.
Okay, thank you so much. That was so informative, and it gave us not only the overall big picture of where the company at a global scale, I would say, how your company operates in what scale, and you walked us through where it actually where what is the from a CFO, in design thinking parlance we would call that your primary persona is the chief financial officer of a company, so of of large company. So Venkat has truly empathized with this individual, and has his company has looked at how is it that we can attempt to solve that. So I really liked your chart of technology, business, and finance, the Venn diagram, which is uncanny, but which is the exact one we use for design thinking as well. Instead of finance, we say customer desirability, which is your absolutely your persona is your chief financial officer. So I don't know, goosebumps. It's okay. I so I think so. What Venkat and his company is looking for is primarily from an NPTEL standpoint. We are looking for students who students as in you're enrolled in a college degree, you're enrolled in a university degree, an advanced degree, and you have taken our course here at design thinking, and you have successfully completed it. At the end of it, it goes to the alumni of this course as well. And looking at Venkat's stellar video, I'm sorry, a presentation, you're totally impressed with how he's conducted it. He's looking to build this and his vision. And if you're truly bought, I say feel to, and I put it in the chat, his email address, his company also. So do that. I am going to be, Siddharth and I will be mentoring these interns. We're already, by the way, this is an ongoing process. We are in talks with some of the interns from some of the students from the past courses, alumni of our courses. They are in talks with Venkat's team as we speak. Actually, this is going on. It's an ongoing process. So I would urge all of you is interested in, you think, and like what Venkat outlined, you don't need coding to do that application part. That's the part which excited me the most. That
Right.
you can put things together if you understand the logic, if you understand how things are, and then you can actually piece them together. That's our thing. So we don't need. You need the acumen. We need the brain power, and which is and the design thinking as well. So we're going to treat it that way, and this internship will go a long way. This is going to be an NPTEL internship. Okay, that's for the students. Now there's a second lot, which is the learner community, who are not students, who are but are equally awed by his presentation and his company, what they're out there to do. You're really interested. You can write to Venkat directly, and this is off NPTEL, but we'll be there to help you out in case you missed this. His email ID. It's there in the chat. Else, put it on the discussion forum. If you're watching this recording on YouTube, then feel free to reach out on the discussion forum, and we will be happy to connect you to Venkat as well. So this is our trial to bring in a good set of people on our from our learner community to people who are trying to build something for companies as well. So this is our attempt, and thank you so much for spending the time with us, Venkat. I know you're a busy guy. You're in between demos with your clients, so so nice of you to take some time off and walk us through. For me, what is it? I wrote pages and pages of notes. So that's something I haven't written quality notes in a while. So thank you so much for that.
I really, really appreciate the opportunity, Bala, and I'm looking forward to meeting whomsoever wants to reach out to me. Feel free to reach out to me. Yep. And thank you so much for the opportunity.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. So Siddharth, it's our business as usual. For us, we this is business as usual for us. So this is The rest of our talk is going to be on the answering your questions, your queries, your answers. I mean, we will attempt to answer them. If you have any comments or suggestions, also please let us know through chat. We'll be happy. Over to you, Siddharth. You're our compeer.
Yep. Thank you, Bala sir. And it was indeed a very nice presentation and a very interesting concept from Venkat sir itself. Please feel free to email Venkat sir or drop your details in the discussion forum so that we can connect you to him. And very quickly moving on to our Q&A session, I will share my screen here so that all of you can view the questions. Bala sir, moving to our first question of the day. How design thinking differs from critical thinking, lateral thinking, and creative thinking? I want to know the exact difference between these terminologies.
Okay. Let me one second. Just yeah. So great question. First of all, thank you so much. Yeah, these terms pop up all the time. When it comes to thinking, you will find lots of suffixes before. One of them is, of course, design thinking itself, which is a popular one. So critical, lateral, and creative thinking. Um, to me, this is my own take on the subject. Is critical thinking is about not accepting status quo. So when you see some situation that you think can be improved, okay, that's a hunch that you have. Sometimes you just take it as that's the way life is, let's move on. So that's one way to deal with it. Or no, I'm going to take some action on this, okay, and then you go into finding out. So the analyzed part of our design thinking is what you would expect in critical thinking. You really don't take it at face value, but you go deeper, you're very curious, you go deep and find out what is it that is going on here, what is simmering underneath that I really want to do. So this doesn't come out of it takes effort, it takes thinking, it takes talking to people, finding out from a empathy to analyze. You keep going back and forth, and that's what critical thinking, in my opinion, is actually all about. Is not to take the status quo, the state of affairs as it is at face value, but you actually are curious, you want to help, you really go and try to understand with all your might and try to get to the bottom of the mystery. So you need critical thinking skills for that. Okay. Now lateral thinking reminds me of Edward de Bono. He wrote a book on that name, and it's pretty interesting, and I would highly recommend that you read the book. It's extremely entertaining as well as informative. I really learned a lot from that book. Edward de Bono talks about lateral thinking primarily with the angle of generating solutions. Okay, so in our solve phase, this would come in handy. Laterally thinking, which is okay, if you are given a certain problem, okay, I'm going to sort of sidestep TRIZ for a moment, but in TRIZ we talk about if there is a type of problem, we're going to solve it this way, okay, or at least humanity has solved it this way. Okay, so that's what TRIZ has in its large matrix has talked about. But Altshuler later in life said, that's one way that humanity has solved it, but are there other ways to do it? And that's where probably the lateral thinking skills set comes in. What you see and what someone else sees, or what I see about the same problem could be completely different, which is why another thing in design thinking you recommend is to have a diverse set of individuals in your team. And design thinking is a team sport, so you make sure that you have multiple personalities in your multiple types of personalities in it. So if Siddharth and I are similar in most sense, so I can sometimes guess what Siddharth is going to come up with when an ideation comes up, because we have similar sort of training and similar mindset. So here is where we need to bring in somebody, I don't know, it's completely different training, completely different mindset, and then that's what brings in the lateral thinking skills itself. So when two of these people actually get in, you actually see that this brings in the whole lateral thinking mindset. Okay. The third one is creative thinking. Okay. So in creative thinking, we it's a generic term used for coming up with different sorts of ideas. Again, this is my own take on this, is that creative thinking usually refers to people coming up with ideas which are different, okay, which are completely never thought before. But I would say the building blocks, you can't, it's very difficult, at least 99.2% of the time. It is you build on somebody else's ideas. The 0.8%, they say, is the whole Nobel Prize winning sort of ideas. Okay. So yet creative thinking comes up with combination of something that's existing. You can new ways of combining it, and you do that. Okay, that's still in the solve phase. In design thinking, of course, we try to do it, think with our hands. We try to make stuff so that you are not only think about ideas, glorious ideas, creative ideas, mundane ideas, but you also think with your hands, which is to build prototypes, build something that you can explain it to your own team and to others, in your customers, your users as well. So this is my trial at answering this question. Very interesting. Thank you so much. If something is unclear, of course, you can use the chat or the forums to say that, this is not what I was thinking. Can you explain more on this front? Yes, I can definitely help you with that. Siddharth, over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bala sir. Thank you for that answer. Next question. In online mode, how to conduct design thinking lab for BTech students? What activities should we give to students in this design thinking lab?
Okay. This is a tricky one. I can understand with the current state in how things are going. There are two facets to this. In one facet is lots of things that work on face to face may actually even work with online as well. Okay, there are a few things like getting them to answer. I mean, not having monologues, but having to your students interact with the content with you. Which is why we have live seminars also in the absence of face to face. NPTEL has been pioneering this online mode for a long time now. So in that, one of the strong recommendations that comes from the NPTEL team is to have live sessions where students can actually, or learners, learners can actually be asynchronously asking questions and getting them answered, because recorded presentations or even synchronous is very difficult. Okay, so that's one way to. So what applies in the real world may also apply to the online world, which is to get people, the students, to interact with the content, with what you're saying. Okay, having an open-ended discussion. All that applies to a physical classroom as well, right? So show them a picture, ask them to come up with their own opinion, or show a provocative sort of statement and say, okay, what do you guys think? And there's no right answer to that. They each of them come up with answers to that. So that is something that I have found very effective in my classes. Sometimes I know the answer, or there could be close-ended also. You can ask them to take guesses. In even in my online these videos also, in some places I've attempted to do that. Is now pause the video and see if you can guess this, sort of that sort of a thing, right? So you can certainly do that part. Now, what doesn't work in offline but can be done in online are polls and forms and some activities that they can sort of stuff that's lying around at home. You can ask them to bring it and see if they can do it, or you can ask them to write something, draw something, and take a picture of it and upload it to somewhere. These I have tried it in my face-to-face class, but it's never worked. The student says, why should I take pictures and send it to you when you're right here? right? So those things don't work very effectively in face to face, whereas in online, that's the only way to do it, and students actually do it. They want to take pictures, and they take, some of them take it very creatively. Some of them make videos. That's another thing you can ask your students activity as, make videos. There's so many free video editors and creative ones at that. Students actually love making videos. It brings together some creativity in that as well. It doesn't matter what subject it is. I haven't got oh, you're talking about design thinking. It's oh, great. Then design thinking, we often ask students to make design thinking videos. I ask them to make ads. They use all sorts of online software to make these ads. They look so wonderful. I'm like, how did you, first of all, forget what the content is, how did you make this? Please let me know, and I take down notes. I've learned so much from my students because they go online and find these wonderful tools to make videos, or presentations, or images, or ads. That it's amazing. In fact, I've learned so much from Siddharth in the tools that he uses. Oh, sir, you haven't heard of this? This is there. This is the coolest thing, and then I read down notes, and then I learned from him as well. So it's fantastic what these students can do given certain challenges like that. I hope, I mean, this is just scratching the surface. There's so much more to this. We can talk about it the whole day. One trick that I use, trick, gimmick, whatever, is a self-evaluation. Recently, I tried it with a bunch of teachers, professors. It really worked. I thought many wouldn't go for it. So I gave them an exercise, asked them to do it, and I said, I'm not going to evaluate you. You evaluate it, but here is the criteria. So I thought many would cheat or many would not do it, but actually many people did it. With teachers, students, many people did it. It's fantastic what a little trigger can really go a long way. So I would encourage you to sort of try out different things like this. Like I said, I've just barely scratched the surface. We can talk about it all day long, even to get your ideas, the person who asked the question. Thank you, Siddharth, for the. I mean, thank you, Lorna, for asking the question, and Siddharth for reading it out. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bala sir. That is quite interesting. Our next question is nearly 20 students joined for this course from my class. We are enjoying your lessons, examples, and case studies. With respect to examinations, do we have any additional practice questions other than assignments?
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for the kind words for the Knowing team and us and the NPTEL media team, ISER media team also, who pieced this together. It was a lot of fun. And thank you so much. We're glad you had you enjoyed it with other students there. Examinations, yes. So we have an entire session dedicated to these exams. When we get closer to the exams, don't worry, you are in safe hands. We will make sure that all the examination butterflies go fly away, and we will probably give you a mock case so that you can look at it and sort of learn from that and saying, oh, this is how it's going to be. And other tips as well. So I don't. I mean, that's the bulk of the live session that we're going to have in. I don't know how. Maybe a month's time, Siddharth.
On 12th, I guess, the 12th of April. Let me just check that confirm. It's on 12th of April, sir.
Okay, so 12th of April, we have an entire session dedicated to that. I hope you can find the time to attend that session or watch the live. Watch the recording on YouTube or on our website. You can definitely get hold of and ask the questions there. If something that we covered hasn't covered your questions, we will be very happy to sort of pitch in. Yes, I hope that answers their question.
Yes, it does. Thank you, Bala sir. Uh, how can I apply Four Noble Truth theory while doing graphic designing for my profession? For me, sometimes it is difficult to handle the demands and rejection of graphic by those seniors who are from non-designing sense or background. Please guide.
Ooh, okay. So thank you so much for that question. Definitely, it's worthwhile. I mean, this is something that I have faced in the past as well. Not only graphics. I mean, not specifically graphics, but ideas in general, your own creative thoughts in general. They may not get it, so you're like, oh, they don't have that sense, they don't have that background, so they're not getting it. Okay, so here is where the first part definitely helps, and hence by extension the last part also. So if I what am I talking about? Empathize, analyze, solve, and test, right? So empathize part. So find out what is it that is going through their mind, what is it that they really want. Okay, so that is the empathize part. So if you've already done that, you've done your analyze and solve, and you've come up with those designs with your graphics or whatever, and you think you've nailed the concept, you have really got it. Great, that's great. That's the solve part of it. Now comes the test part, which you've made it into a prototype, you're presenting it to your customer, and they don't get it. Okay, you put in your heart and soul into this design, and they don't get it. Okay, now one way is to, again, now we are back into empathize. I don't know if you can see the cycle, EAST, coming back to E. So empathize, analyze, solve, and test. You're back into empathize, and here is the trick. You need to now see, hear, listen, and feel what they are going through. Maybe you've not understood them well, maybe they have not because customers, this is my favorite metaphor these days, customers are like babies. Okay, so babies, when they can't articulate complex feelings, what they're going through, they will cry. Okay, so that's their only language they have. So we sort of pseudo parents in this case of the design have to perceive from our customers what is it that they're going through. Is it this, is it that? There will be some amount of guesswork in trying to figure things out, and then once we figure it out, it requires lots of iteration, lots of patience, and lots of sitting together with your customer and figuring this out. It could also mean developing a good camaraderie, good relationship with your customer at a even personal level, a non design, non sort of background. So you will get into their psyche, and that makes it easy for you. Oh, that's where they're coming from. I missed that angle completely. So that could be one totally insight that didn't hit you before, and that could come also in your multiple iterations like that. So I would say, as designers, as design thinkers, we stick to the process, and also have patience with our because it's about relationships in the empathize and the test phase. The analytical and the solve we're very good at. I'm sure you will ace through that part, but the rest of the stuff we need to have a little more patience. And this is an art. We can put processes, blocks, and all that, but it's still an art. I think this is my own opinion also. So Four Noble Truth theory is, we found some correlation between the dukkha, suffering, so which is what they probably we need to figure out, and then try to see how to help them out, and at the end come back again, walk on the path to end their suffering, which is what we are trying to do anyway. Okay, that's my trial to answer. I don't know if I really guided you. You've asked me to guide you. If I have, great. But if I have not, please let me know through. Let us know through the chat or forums. Okay, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Our next question is there any demand of creativity trainers in corporate sector? If yes, how can one start? Is certification needed?
Okay. Okay, this is the holy grail question. Okay. Yes, there is certainly a demand for creativity trainers. So sometimes they call it innovation trainers. Sometimes they're called training in design thinking, training in or lateral thinking. Many such names exist. But the key is, you can train all you want, but are they learning it? That's one thing that I learned in one of my earlier companies. You can train them, but are they learning it? That's where the empathy part also comes in. Yes, certainly there are lots of training programs in corporate sector. Many companies have training sessions where there are 3 or 4 levels in which the training goes on. One is the absolute beginner, where they've just heard of this, or they don't believe it can be done in a classroom. Like the case of Professor John Arnold. He also started out as a creativity trainer. Creativity thinking training is what he used to conduct in corporate also, way back in the 1950s and 40s, right? So that's exactly what we are talking about even now, is can it be taught in a classroom? In the 40s they used to question that, can this be taught even today it's a question. Okay. Shouldn't creativity be, you should be a born creative genius, right? So that's one set of one school of thought, right? So in corporate sector, there are sections of the companies which do believe the fact that yes, creativity can be approached like a process. Because if you look at design, the previous question that you saw from a person, they are going through a process, and design thinking is also a process. So we train them in the process, and to say that this is the awareness. So that's the first level. The beginners give them the awareness that first of all it can be done in a classroom in a closed setting. Okay, that's the beginner, and you make them aware that such things exist. The second level, which is the intermediary, or say, let's say they're not beginners anymore, they're aware of this, is to give them practice. And in training, we give them, make them work on mock case studies, or we put them on real case studies. Okay. So pros and cons. Mock, they get the concept, but they're working on a mock, they know it's not serious. On a real case study, they care too much about it that they may not get the concepts. So we sometimes do a balance, a mix of both, or sometimes we say, oh, heck, we'll go with real case study because we want some headway into a real case that the company is working on. So that could be another place also. Of course, in the expert level, we conduct large scale projects all across, which actually make a difference for the company. The management is involved, they look at it and say, did we make a change in the company or not? And if it doesn't, then it's a problem, we need to train further. Okay, so that's sort of my trial at the first part of. How can one start? You start by getting into one of these training sessions yourselves, or if you already know these techniques. The way I started was to be a practitioner first. It's very easy to talk from experience, in my opinion. So you work on a lot of projects, apply these methods yourself, and see, learn from those experiences, and you can talk about those experiences in your class, in your training sessions. So that's the advantage of that. It doesn't have to be made up, it can be spontaneous. So that's where I started. If it works for you, great. If not, there are plenty of courses online, including ours, the design thinking course here. You can apply it in a real case that you care about, and that's your, that's your trial and learning stuff. Okay, so that's the trial to answer the second part. The third part is a bit tricky. Yes, there are plenty of certifications out there. Now, if your client, your corporate sector client, insists that you have X certificate or Y certificate, of course, you need to get that. But I believe in real knowledge, real experience that you can get out of real projects that you care about. You put your skin in the game. That's what I care about. Certification, if it comes along to prove that you have that experience, well and good. Otherwise, I don't insist on certification. But this is a personal thing, right? Or a client demand thing. I remember these ISO certifications that used to be, that still is considered
Still is.
important. It is, right? So Siddharth agrees with me. It is considered very important. So you need that to even get your head into a company. Whereas some companies say, I look at portfolio. I mean, your past experience. How many projects have you successfully executed? That is a certificate I need. And there are, and sometimes people ask for both. Uh, it's up to the client. So sort of address all three. Again, I don't know if I've completely answered what you had in mind. If not, let us know. Okay. Thank you, Siddharth.
you, sir. And it is also time for our session. So, time for the
Oh
end of our
boy,
session. Yeah.
1 hour went
And
past, huh?
1 hour went past. And I love to request all our learners to post their questions if there are any further in the discussion forum so that Professor Bala can answer your questions on the discussion forum. And Bala, sir, that is all we have
Sure.
for today. So, any talk of wisdom, final talk of wisdom to end the session.
Well, the only thought I can say is that apply it in real life. You saw Siddharth apply it in his own product in his company. It's that serious. When you do get into that seriously, is when the learning is permanent. You can retain what you learn. This shouldn't be just one more course that you go through and finish the certification. We want it to be useful for you in your own life in making somebody around you, somebody you care about, or somebody that you work with, their lives better in doing that. If it does that, we have achieved what we set out through this course. So that's, I don't know if that counts as wisdom, but that's what is we try to do, and this is what we are hoping you can do it also. Does that
Super.
count as wisdom, Siddharth?
It does. For me, anything you say professionally counts as wisdom.
Oh no, Siddharth has gone on to that path again. Okay. Get on to the middle path.
Middle. Okay, sir. Sure. Thank you, guys. Thank you for coming
Okay,
live
thank
and
you so
watching
much,
this
everyone.
lesson. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye, bye, everyone. See you in the next session. Thanks a lot. Bye.